Hello and welcome to this presentation on undergraduate accommodation at the University of Exeter. My name is Meredith Farley and I'm the Deputy Manager in the Accommodation Office. Today I'm going to give you an introduction to the different types of accommodation we have here in Exeter, our accommodation guarantee, the application process and how we allocate rooms, as well as what happens after your first year. While you're not able to view inside our residences in person today, please make a note to look at our accommodation virtual tours. These offer 360-degree views around most of our residences so that you can see the bedrooms and communal areas. You can access these by going to our accommodation website, then going to the grey Residences tab, then selecting Virtual Tours. Alternatively, you can type in the full web address www.exeter.ac.uk/accommodation/residences/virtual tours. Here at Exeter, we are able to offer two types of accommodation, catered or self-catered. Just over 3/4 of our undergraduate beds are in self-catered accommodation. Within this, there are different styles of accommodation. Standard, where you share your bathroom facilities, ensuite, or studio, which is a self-catered option only. Whatever type of room you choose, all rooms are furnished and come with an internet connection, including Wi-Fi. Firstly, why might you choose to be in catered accommodation? Well, if you want your main meals taken care of and budgeted for, then this is probably the biggest advantage. Included in your rent are 16 meals a week, breakfast and evening meal Monday to Friday, and breakfast, brunch and dinner at the weekends. The only meals that you would need to get for yourself are weekday lunches, and we have plenty of outlets on campus where you can purchase food, or you can make a snack back at your accommodation. We have sample catered menus on our website, which will give you an idea of the variety of meals provided. There is always a vegetarian option, and special diets such as gluten-free, dairy-free and vegan can also be catered for. Each catered hall has centrally located facilities and social spaces. Some have pool tables, ping pong, TV lounges, and down at Berks Grange there is also a shop. All our catered residences are located on campus. The contracts are term time only, so you do have to leave your room over the Christmas and Easter vacations and may also be asked to remove your belongings over these periods. But this means that you are only paying rent for the time that you are here, and there are options to move to self-catered accommodation during the vacation period if you want to stay in Exeter. So is there anything you need to bear in mind about living in catered accommodation? Well, there are set meal times, so for example the breakfast and evening meal sittings are about 1 hour and 3/4. Some courses, particularly medicine and drama, may have lectures which finish later in the evening, so you need to consider whether this will work for you. Is your course going to be based at St Luke's? If so, do you want to be rushing back to Streatham to get your meals? Are you planning on joining lots of clubs or societies, or have sports commitments? You are able to order a meal replacement in advance if you know you are going to miss a meal, but you wouldn't want to be doing this all the time. While there is a varied menu, you won't be having the same opportunity to plan your own meals and have that independence of being able to cook what you want when you want it. You have access to a shared utility area, which is like a mini kitchen but without an oven or fridge freezer, so food prep options are limited. You do have a mini fridge in your room. Your socialising will be done in the large communal areas, which are the residents' common rooms and in the dining hall. There are no small communal lounge kitchen areas like you have with the self-catered flats, so what suits you better? The catering team can cater for a variety of dietary requirements, and they will speak with you to discuss suitable options. But if you have very severe allergies, then you might need to consider whether self-catered accommodation would be better, or even studio living, where you can ensure no cross-contamination would occur. Looking specifically at standard catered rooms, nearly 60% of these bed spaces are in twin, shared occupancy rooms, so you do need to bear in mind that there is a high probability that you will be offered a shared bedroom if you apply for standard catered. All our catered ensuite rooms are single occupancy, but there is inevitably greater demand for these rooms. Rooms in our catered halls are offered on term time only contracts. This means that you are required to leave your room at Christmas and Easter and return your key, and you may also need to remove all your belongings. You would either need to take all your belongings home with you or make arrangements to put your possessions into storage with a local company. Now let's take a look at self-catered accommodation. The majority of our accommodation is in self-catered residences, accounting for just over 3/4 of our total undergraduate bed spaces. 16% of our self-catered beds are located off campus, but these are all within reasonable walking distance. The number of flatmates does vary on the residence, but you can see our accommodation guide or website for more information about the number of residents sharing. Typically, there will be 6 to 8 students per flat. Flats have a shared lounge or dining area and kitchen, so this is where your socialising will happen. Kitchens are equipped with a cooker with oven, hob and grill, microwave, fridge freezer, water boiler or kettle, and dining table and chairs. When it comes to choosing your accommodation, one of the factors you might want to think about is whether you are happy to share your bathroom facilities or if an ensuite is important to you. The contract lengths will vary depending on the residence, but will be a minimum of 40 weeks. This covers the entire academic teaching year. So unlike in catered, the keys are yours from the contract start date to the end date in the summer. No need to move out during Christmas and Easter vacations if you don't want to. Self-catering offers more independent living. You are choosing what food to buy, what to cook, and when. The other option with self-catered residences are studios. Studios are completely self-contained living spaces. I liken them to a hotel room where you have rooms along a corridor, and once you step through the door, that is your own little world. Each studio room has an open plan living space, which includes a desk, bed and dining area, along with a kitchenette and ensuite shower room. There is no communal living space like you have with the self-catered flats, but studio residents can make use of communal social spaces in nearby residences, and we generally find that the residents will be sociable with their neighbours. It is a very different lifestyle, but particularly useful for students who like their own space, want to concentrate on their studying, or for students with severe allergies. Let's take a look at where our accommodation is located. This map is a walking distance map using the Forum on Streatham campus as the starting point. You can find a larger version of this map on our accommodation website. The campus boundary is marked by a dotted line and is bordered by roads on 3 sides. University self-catered accommodation is shown in pink and catered accommodation in blue. It also shows in yellow other purpose-built, privately run student accommodation in the city. So you can see that our off-campus residences are all located in areas with large student communities. For September 2022, 87% of all our undergraduate bed spaces will be on campus, with the remaining 13% being off campus in areas such as St David's, the city centre and close to St Luke's campus. When looking at self-catered alone, 16% of these beds will be off campus. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the city, the main shopping and eating area is around the High Street, which is within a 15 to 20-minute walk from the centre of Streatham campus. It is 1.1 miles between the Forum, in the centre of campus, and the point marked city centre on this map. So you can see that Exeter is really quite a compact city. There are free shuttle buses which run to and from the Streatham campus and St David's train station. This is a morning and early evening service only. And there is also a local stagecoach bus route which runs through the city and connects Streatham and St Luke's throughout the day and evenings. As you've seen, our residences vary in style, size, standard and budget, but whether you choose catered or self-catered accommodation, you will find some things the same. Utility bills for gas, electricity and water are all included. You have a 100 megabits per second wired and wireless internet connection with options to upgrade. There are laundry facilities either within the residence or within a few minutes walk. We have secure cycle storage at all our residences, and cycling is an ideal way to get around the city. There is a limited cleaning provision in communal areas. You have a designated reception for your residents, and that team provides essential customer service to support residents living in our accommodation, including being able to signpost you to other support services. And finally, we include a basic level of personal effects insurance cover within your rent. We also have a residence life team who are available to all students within our accommodation. This team looks after the pastoral care and welfare of our residents, and they arrange community building events throughout the year. They offer invaluable support, especially in the first few days and weeks when many students feel unsettled and homesick and are adjusting to their new environment. The student mentors are mainly second and third years or postgraduates, so they're able to draw on their university experience. The mentors are supported by team leaders who are permanent members of staff and can deal with more complex issues. Along with the Residence Life team, we also have key support for security and welfare from our Estate Patrol team and the wider wellbeing services. I've highlighted some of the many services these teams provide, but if you would like to know more, then you can find their contact details on the main University of Exeter website. I'll touch briefly on accommodation costs now. This slide gives you a very condensed summary of the rents across our 21 undergraduate residences. So if you want to look at prices in greater depth, I would suggest you refer to the information on our website. You can see how prices vary between on and off campus and standard and ensuite rooms. I've included the total fee amounts to highlight a point about the catered rents. While the weekly amount in catered accommodation is higher, because the contract length is shorter, 32 weeks compared to 40 plus, depending on the residence, you could be paying less overall for a standard catered room than a standard self-catered, where you would still need to budget for all your food costs. Now I would like to tell you about our accommodation guarantee. We guarantee to offer you a bed space if you apply by the guarantee deadline in your year of entry and you are an unaccompanied home or international student who has firmly accepted an offer of a place to study at Exeter, entering into year one of your studies as a full-time student, or an unaccompanied incoming study abroad or exchange student who is coming to Exeter for the full academic year starting in September. Our applications open in April of your year of entry. If you're planning to defer your entry and take a gap year, for example, then once admissions confirmed that you could defer your place, then you would not need to apply until April of the year you are intending to start your studies. Please refer to the accommodation website for up-to-date details of our application opening date and the guarantee deadline date relevant to your year of application. It is really important to note that we do not guarantee that your accommodation offer will be for any of your application preferences. Due to demand, you may receive an offer for a residence and room type that was not one of your preferences. Applications that are received during our guarantee period are not processed on a first-come, first-served basis, so there is no rush to get your application in as soon as the system opens, but please check your guarantee deadline date. So now I will give you a little bit of information about our accommodation application process. This is an online process which is done through our website, but you will only be able to apply once you have made Exeter your firm choice on UCAS. You are not able to apply for accommodation if Exeter is your insurance choice. You will need to create an accommodation account using your 9-digit Exeter student ID number. You can find this number on the offer correspondence you have received from our admissions team, but it may be quoted as your Exeter reference number. It is not the same as your UCAS ID, so please do not try to use those details. You can create an account from early April in preparation for the application system opening. Please use an email address which you will have ongoing access to, so not a school or college one, because all our correspondence will be sent to you via email, and some school accounts are closed once you have left. We also recommend regularly checking your spam or junk folders, as our emails, which will come from the address exeterao@exeter.ac.uk, can sometimes be diverted from your main inbox. As I mentioned earlier, our applications open in the April of your year of entry, and as long as you apply by the guarantee deadline, then you will fall within our accommodation guarantee, and your application will not be processed on a first-come, first-served basis. We will ask you to indicate 4 residences which are your accommodation preferences, and you need to rank them in order of preference. We do not guarantee to be able to allocate you to the residences you indicate, so if demand is high for the residences you have indicated, then we will use the information you have provided in your application as a guide to the next most suitable residence to allocate you to. Once you are happy with your application, then you'll submit it and receive an acknowledgement email from us. We then hold your application until your exam results and any conditions of study have been confirmed. Admissions will then move your course status to unconditional firm, and we will be able to process your accommodation application. If you don't apply for accommodation by the guarantee deadline date, then we do not guarantee to be able to make you an offer. So this might be the case if, for example, you are taking up a study place which has been offered to you as your insurance choice or via clearing. There might also be a 24 to 48-hour delay before you are able to make an accommodation application, as your details will need to transfer from the admission system over to ours. The post-guarantee application is slightly different in that you will not be able to select specific residences as your preferences. Instead, you'll be giving an indication of the type of room you prefer, for example, an ensuite or a standard, and whether catered or self-catered. We do process these applications in order of receipt, but our availability won't be known until we have finished processing all the guaranteed applications. The main question we are asked is, how likely am I to be offered university accommodation? And this likelihood varies each year because it depends on how many students who applied within the guarantee period successfully meet their grade requirements to study and take up their place at Exeter. We will try to house as many students as possible, but if we are able to make you an offer, then this is likely to be in one of our off-campus residences. If we are unable to make you an offer, then you will need to search for accommodation in the private sector, but we do have lots of information on our website to support you. How do we go about allocating you a room? We use a process of random allocation. By this, we mean that we take all the people who had a particular residence as their first preference, and then the computer system randomly selects an application from that group to work on. This process then continues until the number of students required to fill that residence has been reached. If, because of demand, we are unable to allocate you to your first preference of residence, then we will look to allocate you to your second preference. If this is also full, then we will look to allocate you to your third preference, and so on. As part of the application process, we will ask you to indicate some additional accommodation preferences, such as the age group you would prefer living with, and whether you would like to live with students who prefer a quieter lifestyle or an alcohol-free lifestyle. While we can't guarantee to be able to meet these requests, it does help us to group students together. We have more information about our allocation procedure on our website. When it comes to sending out offers of accommodation, we will do this in batches rather than all at once, so please do not worry if you hear that other people have already received theirs. You will need to be able to access your accommodation account in order to view and accept your offer. So if you know that you're going to be away, you might want to think about leaving your accommodation account login details with a trusted family member or friend so that they can act on your behalf. There will be a deadline date by which you will need to accept or reject your offer, otherwise it will be withdrawn. And you will only get one offer. If you decide to reject that offer, then you will need to find your own accommodation in the private sector. Once you accept your offer, it creates a legally binding contract. This is a very long way off, but some of you might be wondering how and when the accommodation fees are paid. Our fees are paid in 3 termly instalments, the dates of which are published online, but will be after the start of term. You can pay the fees all at once if you wish, but we don't offer a discount for doing so. We do not ask for a deposit to secure a booking in our own residences, but once you accept your offer of accommodation with us, then this does create a legally binding contract. If we sourced additional rooms in third-party halls of residence, which is called a nominations residence, then you may be required to pay a deposit and payment dates may differ. So looking even further ahead, what happens after the first year? We are only able to guarantee accommodation to first-year undergraduates, so unless there are supported medical reasons for you needing to remain in university accommodation, most students will be moving out into private sector accommodation. We provide lots of supporting information on our website about how to start your search for private accommodation and the key aspects to consider. Your options in Exeter would be to move into private halls of residence for a similar experience to what you had in your first year, move into traditional shared houses and flats, or choose lodgings, which means staying with a host family or live-in landlord. We administer an accommodation search website called StudentPad. Local landlords can place adverts for their properties and you contact them directly if you are interested. Whilst we do not inspect properties, we have lots of online guidance about things students should look out for. StudentPad also has a message board facility where you can connect with other students who are looking for flatmates. Exeter has a good supply of student accommodation and we really encourage students not to rush into finding their next home. Instead, we recommend spending the first term getting to know each other and deciding if you want to live with flatmates, course mates, or a mixture of both. I'll finish off this presentation with some resources that you might want to look at. Our accommodation website has a wealth of information and should answer many of the questions you might have. I particularly recommend using our virtual tours, which will give you a good feel for the different residences we have here at Exeter. We have a number of different videos covering different aspects of living in catered or self-catered residences and living in Exeter. You can access these via the YouTube logo on our website. We have a blog which is written specifically for prospective students from January to September, and then we post about 3 times a week between mid-August and Freshers Week to help get you prepared for coming to Exeter. You can email us via the address exeterao@exeter.ac.uk. We have a Facebook page where you can message us, and you can call us via the University SID team. Thank you very much for listening, and on behalf of the accommodation team, I wish you all the best for your future studies.